I knew that Lian Lo was looking for someone with vibrancy and passion and movement, and who kind of embodied the spirit of Maya Angelou, the fluidity of her work, and the attention to emotion just blew me away as I saw the book progress.
In researching Maya Angelou and her story, I'm learning some of the things about her past that, in a way, mirror my past. And I feel like she's a family member now. She's like my auntie. She's not Dr. Maya Angelou, she's Auntie Maya Angelou. The technique includes collage, at times some typography, some printmaking. With my original work and my illustration work, I like to create sort of uncharted new territory. My goal is to just kind of let it happen and be free, like a jazz song.
The book opens with the train that Maya and Bailey are on when they are sent to the South for the first time to Stamps, Arkansas, on their own as children, with a little note pinned to them saying that they were to go to Annie Henderson, who's Mama Henderson, her grandmother, and they were put on that train alone.
The bond that she had with Bailey was really important in her life. And so when around the image of Bailey on that train, I wanted to show this sort of light emanating from him. And the light, I believe, is within all of us. If I could paint everyone with a light around them, I probably would. My own personal formula, I feel, is yellow and light and purple and oppression. Purple shows up in a particular scene where Maya is experiencing deep sadness and fear.
This is the depiction of the violation of Maya, and the shadow of her on the bed is that of a bird. And there are the lines from the curtains kind of create like these bars. And when I originally saw this, I was so moved by the haunting quality of the piece.
In some of the movement, there's a heaviness or a lack of movement, like an oppression. And as she comes out of that darkness, you can see her physically rising, lifting up. And I believe that she finds that strength within words, but also within herself. Maya is a spitfire even from the beginning, and Maya, in that same piece, you can barely tell, but she's about to erupt. She's so upset. You know, she's upset to see Mama Henderson go through this experience, but at the same time, she's just beside herself with anger that there's nothing that can be done. As a Black woman, I've experienced quite a bit of those in my lifetime. I've experienced racial slurs. I've experienced anger towards me simply because my skin color is different than yours.
And then I realized in the shadows of the trees that Tonya, the artist, is depicting lynchings and the ghosts of the men and women who were killed just because of the color of their skin and the violence of the era. And it's done so subtly that if you don't look at the shadows, you don't see it.
I was like a teenager before I found out that people were actually lynched. And the way that I found out was we had moved into a house, and my sister and I were crawling through the attic, and we found this huge stack of these historical photographs. And in those photographs, we saw these men hanging from trees. And nobody told me that they did that to people. And I love the fact that Bethany confronted that imagery with her poetry in this book, and that children will have, you know, the experience of just knowing that occurred. it was a hard thing for me to experience or to learn about myself at a young age, but I think it's important for kids to learn about that history because we don't want it to repeat itself. And that occurs when you don't acknowledge the truth.
And has a quiet strength to it too, because ultimately Maya found her strength through surviving this. And throughout her life, she talks about not just surviving, but thriving. And so while this is not a depiction of her thriving, there are many that are to come in her life.
What gives me life and strength is my family and my peers and the people that are close to me in my life, and the joy of feeding people and communing with them in my space and listening to music and art. If I'm having a difficult time and I can go and convene with nature for even just an hour or two, it's like a revival.
One of the big moments in Maya's life and the big moments in our book is when she reads at the inauguration her poem On the Pulse of the Morning. And here was a girl, who was silent for many years, who stopped speaking, who found her strength and solace in the written word and found her voice again. Here she was reading her own words in front of the country, a country that has many failings and has many strengths and has many people of various colors and shades and sizes. And she was standing before them all, welcoming the new president and welcoming the nation to this new moment in history, is something I think only she could do coming from where she came from.
It means a lot to me because, as a child, like I said, I didn't have any great examples of female artists. And now children, without realizing it, will have a whole world opened up to them that they didn't realize could be something tangible for them. Like, I can become an artist. This woman who illustrated this book is an artist, and she's telling the story of another artist. It starts with books, and it starts with images that you can relate to, that look like you. And the world is your oyster once you get a little bit of that.